It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
The WFO Radio Parade of Champions, something we do every year between the Auto Club Finals and the Winter Nationals, and we have had them all. But now we have to check in with the Competition Eliminator champ. He's gone back-to-back and had great success. Joining us now, he is the Competition Eliminator World Champion, back-to-back seasons, third overall, joining an elite squad of two other drivers, Bill Meropoulos, David Rampy, now Frank Aragona. Frank, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Joe.
We did this last year. You have finished second, first. The last 3 years you've owned this car or this combination. That's dominance in my book. Big season for you and your dad.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's probably, I think, our best year ever, and a year that would be really hard to top, if you ask me. And I sit back and wonder how I would top it, but I guess can't complain.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit about it. People can go back into our WFO archive and find your champion interview from the previous year when you had run this combination now 3 seasons. You first got it, and you're kind of sorting it out, and then you figured it out. You won the title, and now you've won 2 titles with it. The difference, though, this year you did it in like a bantam-style altered. Previous year, you did it in a dragster. So let's talk about the change. Here you are, a champion with the dragster, but you decided to switch the car and kind of take a risk. Talk about why you made that move.
Well, to begin with, the first real reason I bought the combination from Charlie Greco a few years back was it was time to get into fuel injection. There was some mandatory fuel changes with the type of fuel we run in Competition Eliminator, and with our 4-cylinder stuff, it would have taken a lot of research and development to change over to get that fuel to work with our manifolds and camshafts and carburetors. So when Charlie's equipment came available, we saw a lot of potential with it, having them just won a world championship with it and knowing exactly what the car was capable of. Figured we'd buy that and get a jump start into the fuel injection world and a very good combination. So we did that, and we were successful with it. We almost won the championship in the first year. I was getting my feet wet, getting used to it, and a whole new thing to learn, tuning off of a laptop instead of, taking a look at the plugs and changing the jets and spark plugs. So second year we won the championship, and we did use up some index because a few years back, we went over to the personal index system in Competition Eliminator, which I know sometimes you like to call complicated eliminator, but once you know the rules, it's not really that complicated. But we switched over to the personal index, and in that system, when you lose index, you got to find different ways to stay competitive. And we looked at unaltered. And we took the engine and trans combination, put it in altered. We saw a lot of potential and gave us some index to use, and that's what we did and won the championship with it this year.
Getting the index, you used some index sorting out the car and winning races, and then you were able to go in there, switch cars, so you're dealing with the new index, and you won it. Now, you coming out to win the championship, I have no doubt, but there's no guarantees, and you had very tough competition throughout the year, as is always the case. Just looking at the guys in the top 5, Craig Bourgeois, former champ, Brad Plord, and that wicked altered, Tony Mandela, Ryan Warder, rounding out the top 5, Lee Zane, former champ, 6th. Did you have a predetermined strategy of races that you were going to run, or did you just kind of go out, hit the ones near you, and then obviously Gainesville, and see how you did, and then let it all work out? Like how specific were you with your championship race selections?
Well, we start out each year early on in Florida. And we started this year out still with the dragster because the altered was being built by Ken Kia Race Cars, and it wasn't done yet. And we knew once it was done, we'd have to do some testing. So we started out with the dragster, and we had a couple of rough races on the national level, and we didn't do too well. And one of our competitors Craig Bourgeois went on a pretty serious streak of winning races, and he looked like he was going to be the runaway champion for the year. I mean, even I thought he would win the championship. So with that in mind, we all set out in the beginning of the year to win the championship, and we have an idea we're going to go after it. But to be honest with you, this year it wasn't my top focus. My top focus was to get that car, the altered, on the track, tested, and ready for Indy. Because I had never won Indy. It's one of my bucket list items. It was actually technically my last bucket list item, and I built that car sort of as a secret weapon to try and go win Indy, because Indy is a very hard race. You got to be willing to lose index. You got to drive really well, and you got to get the right brakes, especially in Competition Eliminator. And that was my plan. And by the time Indy rolled around, we were lucky enough to win it. And fortunately, we had a good run with the new car and won 3 divisionals leading up to Indy. So when we won Indy, that put us in the lead ahead of Craig Bourgeois, and, really made a big difference.
The rest is history, as they say. I love hearing you talk about how the U.S. Nationals, which is a race that, we've always got new people coming into the sport. I like to think that maybe don't understand how significant this is, and we always compare it to the Indy 500 or the Daytona 500, where there are race teams right now working on winning those 2 races right now. And with Indy, it is no different, even for Lucas Oil Series racers such as yourself. And this championship, it sounds like, is kind of an after effect of your drive to win Indy.
Yeah, I'd say it has to be, if I was being honest with myself, because the main focus over the winter was to go after Indy and get that knocked off the bucket list. But leading up to that, before we even, got into the altered, we won a divisional with the dragster, which is still a very competitive class for us, and we won the All-Stars in the dragster. So that's what I say when I say there's no way to top this year, because we won the All-Stars, Indy, the divisional championship, and the national championship, and almost had a perfect season. We won 5 divisions, which is
you got to hold on, Frankie. You cut out for a second while you were making a great point. Go back to we won 5 divisionals. Start from there and say whatever you said again, because you cut out. Cell phone. Start now.
We won 5 divisionals, 2 nationals, and a semifinals, which is 2 rounds away from a perfect season. On top of crown jewels like Indy, the All-Stars, divisional championship, national championship. It's just a year that is unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, so let me, 718 points. I want to unpack that. You won the national championship. You won your divisional championship. So for everybody that doesn't know, obviously the NHRA is broken into 7 different divisions. He's the Northeastern Division, Division 1, Comp Eliminator Champ, Divisional Champion. He is the World Champ. We call it a national championship. I like to say World Champ because we are the nation that drag races on the world, and so if you're a champ in the United States, you're the world champ. Just so call it a national champ or world champ. Plus the JEGS All-Stars, which is the other of the meaningful races in Comp Eliminator, plus Indy. So you won everything that matters. Is there a name for that, Frank, that you've heard? That's something special.
I don't know. I haven't heard any name, but it's. I still sit back and look at the year, and I'm just in awe. I mean, it's really amazing.
The full Monty is what that is. That's everything. You won it all. Not quite a perfect claim. What was the one that got away from you? You said you were 2 rounds away from a perfect claim. Where could you have cleaned that up if we're going for like perfection?
The Keystones at the in Reading.
Yeah.
Stone Nationals. I had Tom Martino in the semis, and he was, he only raced 3 times in the last 3 years, and he was coming off 2 wins at that event, 2 back-to-back wins, going for his 3rd, and he was willing to lose index, and we both lost index against each other in the semis, but he came out on the better end.
Wow. Well, listen, it was an unorthodox opponent is basically what we're talking about there, because Martino does. He had really done very well at the Keystones the past couple of years. Amazing. That is a great season. You talked about Craig Bourgeois starting off strong. You guys changed cars mid-season. Was there a point that it doesn't feel like there was a turning point of this season? You were just working a plan. It wasn't like there were doubts. You had good competition, which is to be expected, but you seemed to be just working your plan. You had a championship combination and just kind of evolving and getting better with it as time has gone on.
Yeah, well, what happened is we unveiled the new car at a divisional event in Lebanon Valley, New York, and we won Best Engineered with the car, and we won the race, first race out. And at that point, we only had about a dozen test runs on the car. So I just felt very comfortable in this car. I was doing great on the tree. Just everything felt right. I was having a good year in the drag still. Like I said, won the divisional and won the All-Stars, but when I got in this car, it just felt different. It's my favorite car. I love the look of the car. My best car in all my years.
And you're more of an altered guy.
Yeah, we have a couple of them through the years. I mean, I like the open body cars, but I really like anything I could win in and be competitive. But this car I love the look of it. I love driving it. It's got a good viewpoint for running the big end. And the Lebanon Valley win that, made us have 2 wins at that point. And we had a runner-up in the dragster early in the year at the Gainesville points race. So the points start adding up. I still didn't think that we had a chance to beat Bourgeois because he had a lot of races left to claim. And I think he won his first 4 races and maybe a runner-up in his first 4 or 5 races. So he was in a good position. But then we decided to go to Topeka because there was a double divisional there, and we won the first one. And that gave us another 95 points. So now we're looking real good. And what happened at Topeka was we didn't wind up running the second race of the double because a lot of cars had broke, and it backed the field down to below 17 cars, which makes it only a 4-round race. So that would be less points. And now that we were putting points up on the board, the points chase came into play again and said, hey, maybe we can catch him. So we sat out the second race, and we went home and raced our next divisional at Atco, New Jersey, and we won that, which made it 3 wins in a row in a brand-new car, undefeated.
Wow.
So that was, if you're looking for a turning point, that's the turning point right there. And then I guess the culmination would be Indy when we won Indy for an extra 10 points and took the championship lead in points away from Bourgeois.
And for our listeners out there, I think many of them might be thinking to themselves, like, wow, you go out to an event, you tow all the way to Kansas, you're intending on running 2 races, but some circumstances arise that make it not strategically smart for you to run the race, and so you don't run the race, and you sit there and watch the race go on without you. That's got to be tough to do. You're a racer, right? You want to go there, you want to get on the track, but once it became a 4-round race, there was no point in it.
Yep, it was definitely a tough decision, and I waited to the very last minute. I went to the NHRA officials, and I said, what was the last minute I have to hand in my tech card? And I forget what time it was the next morning of the race that they gave me until, and it took me right until that point to make the decision. But me and my dad, we sat down, and my cousin was with me, and we just made the decision, and we thought it was the right move. And it worked out. It
worked out. It certainly worked out. You won your divisional championship, the world championship, and you won Indy, which was your motivation for the entire season. What about the stat that you have now become one of only 3 who have won 3 Comp Eliminator World Championships? David Rampy, Bill Moropoulos, Frank Aragona.
That was like a surprise to me. I didn't even know about that until it happened. Louis Bloom had told me, and that's pretty amazing because I looked up to those guys racing throughout my career. And when I was out west for Vegas and Pomona, Bill Moropoulos came over to me, and he asked to take a picture with me and Rampy because we're the only ones that have done it 3 times. And he said he wanted a picture with me because he feels I was going to be the one to break his record, and I thought that was just amazing for him to think that, and I was very humbled by that.
Wow. Well, you should be. You should be. The way that even in a class like comp, like that's what I want people to understand. Like this class has got its own rich traditions and history, and there are people that are living Competition Eliminator every day of their lives.
Yep. That was an amazing spot. And the other one I didn't know about that they also told me about, that only 3 people now have done it back to back, and that's me, Dean Carter. I think he did it in, don't hold me to the year, but maybe 01 and 02 or somewhere around then. And Coleman Roddy back in the 80s, which is another one that I remember as a kid watching races.
Wow.
When I was running around with my dad at the track.
Back to back. Now, you have a unique opportunity to go 3 in a row. And you got a car that's obviously very capable of it, and you're driving well, and you're in the middle of a groove now. Are you changing anything big time for 2020? What is your plan?
We're gonna go on a dyno, try to make some more horsepower so we can make sure we got some index to use up if we need to. And we got a couple other things we're working on with other cars that we have to have in the background in case we need to pull something out and be a little bit more competitive. So, but right now I'm really happy with the Altered, and it's really fast. So we'll start out with that and see if we can keep the good luck streak going. And hopefully we're fortunate enough to do that. I can't even fathom going back to back to back, but that would be incredible. It
would be incredible. Couple other questions. First of all, you mentioned him. We've mentioned him. When it comes to comp, he's the winningest driver. He has announced his retirement, and I really plan on spending a lot of time on this before the start of next season. But David Rampy says he's retiring. What does that mean for Competition Eliminator? Obviously, like when it comes to, the type of person he is, he's a top-notch individual, but to have David not out there running Comp Eliminator, like I want to say I don't believe it. I do believe it, but it hasn't sunk in, and I'm not comprehending it yet. David Rampy retiring.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself. I heard rumors about it, and he's mentioned it to me a couple of times in the past, and then the rumors became stronger at the end of the year, and I still didn't believe him right in Pomona. I was pitted right next to him, and he kept assuring me, this is it. He's going to retire from, chasing it full time, which I understand when you're doing it for a living, it's got to be hard. I do this for a hobby, and I couldn't imagine doing it for a living because I don't think I could survive doing it for a living. I have a business that pays for all this, so. But it definitely is a big loss to Competition Eliminator. He is a great racer, great competitor. It's going to be a loss in many different ways. We're losing a car that's out there competing in Competition Eliminator, which we need every car we can get because there's not, the amount there was many years ago. On another level, it's less competition out there for other guys to race against. And if you know anything about Competition Eliminator, that means a lot when you're going rounds because you need other guys to lose CIC, so it kind of evens things out as you're racing throughout an event. So David is one of those guys that is always there on the tree and knows how to drive the other end and keeps the competition to where if you're running him, like even myself, you got to use something to get around him or not get around him, and he's got to use something. So it's definitely a big loss for Competition Eliminator, and I'm sorry to see him go.
Very, very sad, very sad. Now, one more on your car. I know that Charlie, when he designed the engine combination, my understanding was that there were 2, right, on the world. But now it has proven itself. And so have you increased your inventory of these, blocks and heads and such? Is this something that other people, could they copy your combination at some point? Like it's so unique, and it has been unique, but now we're like 3-4 years into this thing. 5 years, the car's won 3 world championships, one with Doug Dahl, finished second the other year, the engine. What's up with this combination? And this is clearly going down as one of the most dominant combinations we've seen for a purpose-built, design of a racing engine.
Yeah, we don't have any new engines in that combination, but my dad is on top of this stuff all the time, and all the equipment is in pristine condition. Slowco Racing Head stays on top of the head, so it's always in excellent condition. Anyone can build something like this. There's a big cost involved and a lot of time, so I think that's more what people shy away from than anything.
Interesting. Well, that's what Comp Eliminator's about, though. Like, there was a creativity factor in there that Charlie decided to invent something from nothing, and here it is now. You bought it as he decided to step back, and it's still paying dividends given the way you guys are able to maintain it.
Yeah, no, it's a great combination, and we just keep working on it. And no matter what combination you have, there's always room for improvement, so that's why we'll be back on the dyno this winter and trying to get some more horsepower out of it.
You mentioned earlier comp, as in complicated. We're going to do a bit next year about comp. We love comp. Bringing people along with what comp is, if they're there to see John Force or Antron Brown, that's the challenge. Not necessarily to explain it in a simple way, right? A way that is easily digestible for most people. So we've already talked about it with the social media team at NHRA. We're going to do something next year. I would love to hear your simple explanation for folks out there who are fans of comp. You know, we recently did a bit on attention in the pits, and, Brad Plord and the, AA altered methanol that they run. And, like, how does that thing run against your thing and all these different cars? It's a challenge. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a challenge to explain in a simple, easy, digestible way to people who are not knowledgeable about comp. How do you do that?
Well, I don't know if there's a simple, easy way to explain it in a couple of sentences, because what seems to me is the most scary part to them is the math. And I don't know why, because it's really not that hard, but the math of keeping track of the index and going below your index to qualify. Like, you have a set index, which let's call it set 8.0, and you run 750, that's 50 under your index. And, during eliminations, if you go more than 50 under, your index gets lowered by the amount you go further than 50 under. So then if you went 51 under, your index becomes 799 as opposed to 8.0. It's really not that hard, but it's not a couple of sentences that can make you get it. The best thing I can suggest is if you like ingenuity and you like the challenge of what I call the ultimate drag racing chess game, Competition Eliminator is for you, because you have to be innovative. You have to be able to work hard. You got to be able to spend a little money, and you got to be able to play the game right. And that's where the chess portion comes into it. There's a lot of strategy involved in the way you race and how you got to run each round to the next and qualifying. There's so many things that go into it, but it's the ultimate challenge as far as I'm concerned, and there's no better class. I don't even care. Top Fuel all the way down stock, there's no better class than Competition Eliminator as far as I'm concerned.
And I love that you think that and you feel that way. And there are a lot of people that agree with you and absolutely love it. And that's what's cool about NHRA drag racing, is that we've got these different styles of racing that happen all at the same place on the same weekend very often. Frank, congratulations to you, your third Competition Eliminator World Championship in the Lucas Oil Series. Congratulations to your dad as well. 718 points, a dominant year. You won everything you wanted to win. JEGS All-Stars, U.S. Nationals, your divisional championship, and the world. What is better than that? I can't think of too many things. Congratulations on a championship year, and thank you for sharing it with our WFO Radio podcast audience.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you for everything you do all year long. You're always a good advocate of comp, and we appreciate that.
There he goes, Frank Aragona Jr., your 2019 Lucas Oil Competition Eliminator World Champion. Great stuff, great story, and I really appreciate it. And yes, I love to advocate for comp because I love Competition Eliminator ever since I was a kid. Comp as in complicated or comp as in amazing? And just love what's going on. And big thanks to all the listeners and all the Competition Eliminator fans out there. We're going to do some cool stuff for you over the course of this season. Thank you for listening. Remember, click subscribe on WFO Radio, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Like us on Facebook and follow along on Twitter and Instagram at WFO Radio and at WFO Joe. That's me. And we'll see you at the track, WFO.
This is WFO Radio.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey, engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com. You're working in the shop, you've got spills, you've spilled oil, it's everywhere. What are you going to do? I know what you're going to do, but that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to go to magicdryus.com and order the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association, Magic Dry. It's lighter, it absorbs more, it's better for the environment. It's made out of coconut. It's made in America. magicdryus.com. They've got spill kits that include everything you need for a regular, normal household spill, all the way up to a large industrial spill. We always say, if you've got a cat, get Cat Spot. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you've got a spill, call Magic Dry. That's magicdryus.com. Attention adrenaline junkies, Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure is calling you. Rides available for the 2020 season. Go to frankhawley.com. They're coming to a track near you. It makes a great gift, and you know the holidays are coming, whether it be licensing for super comp, super gas, all the way up to top alcohol, they can do it. But if you're a drag racing fan and you've always imagined what it might be like to drive a dragster, to accelerate 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and run 10s in the quarter mile, give them a call. 866-480-7223, frankhawley.com, the Dragster Adventure, and tell them you heard it on WFO. We're talking gourmet coffee, we're talking hot sauces, we're talking spice rubs, we're talking everything good at RodakCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak, been doing it since the 70s, figured out that life is better with great coffee, and oh, he's so right. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. He'll roast up some coffee fresh for you. Throw in some hot sauce, some spice rub, and you will be loving it. Hit him up, RodakCoffeeandGrills.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
This is WFO Radio.